fashion wear for men.
Well, it's turning out to be a sunny afternoon here in Davos. It is the first official day, and earlier today we heard from Prime Minister Modi in what was a multifaceted speech. I have with me Sajjan Jindal of the JSW Group, not just to talk about Prime Minister Modi's speech, but to also talk about his very aggressive plans for expansion this year and what that portends for the Indian economy. So let's get to all of those questions. Mr. Jindal, thank you very much for speaking with us. First up, I thought, Prime Minister Modi struck an interesting balance between saying India is ready to take on, sort of the thought leadership of the world, but we're not here to play the macho, make me the leader game. And I thought that was an interesting take on, world affairs.
No, I think given that he was addressing the global CEO forum and where, everybody from the world industry is here, probably he chose the right words. He spoke about global warming, he spoke about terrorism, threats to the world. I thought, he has clearly portrayed India's leadership, what India wants to do, and talked about our history and our thousands of years of history, what we've been thinking. So I thought it was a very balanced and very good approach that Mr.
Were you hoping that he'd talk a little bit more about invest in India, India's economic power, the growing market size? Was that something that you had hoped for?
I mean, I did hope for that, but in retrospect, I think what he said was quite good in the sense that he did mention about that come to India, come and invest in India. It is much better. It is 42 steps better than what it was when he took over. And so, he's been quite pragmatic about it, and he didn't want to oversell India, which is, not required. So probably he did
It was an uncharacteristically soft touch approach, which we've not come to associate with Prime Minister Modi, because his speeches are, and his oratory is much more aggressive, right? That's his oratory.
I thought this time it was more of a written speech, which and it was not extempore. Normally he's extempore.
His oratory is very powerful.
Very powerful. But it was well balanced speech, because it was a written speech.
Okay, you're making your peace with the speech, I can see. But Mr. Jindal, I think one of the things he highlighted in his speech, and is quite evident here in Davos and has been for the last year, which is that India's predominant position amongst the growing economies in the world. What do you make of how our economy is poised at the beginning of 2018, not just from the steel or metals industry point of view, from a larger business point of view?
I think what Prime Minister mentioned, that 2025 we are working towards a $5 trillion economy, which is quite possible, and I'm sure we'll be getting there. And 5 trillion makes us one of the top 3-4 economies in the world. So basically, what he's trying to point out is that we are ready for becoming a world leader in the size of the economy, and so therefore I think.
But does this feel like a year of growth? Does it feel like growth is finally coming back?
I think we are still not touching 10% or
no, not
9-10%,
but even a 7-8% with conviction. Does it feel
no,
like
but that is clearly visible.
That's clearly visible.
Yeah.
Okay.
The way government spend is happening, except for the new projects, which is still not happening. I mean, the large companies are started to invest now. But the small and medium sector is still not really there to invest, because still a lot of banking restructuring is still happening, and a lot of cleanup has to happen, which right now is happening. So that's what is probably holding back the real investment.
Lots of people expect that the metal sector might in fact lead this round of new projects, or let me say private capital investment, because it's the sector that's seen buoyancy in prices. It's a sector that seems ready to be able to augment supply at this point in time. We saw your competitor Tata Steel just announce a $2 billion fundraise, a big expansion in their Kalinganagar plant. You yourself have many ambitious plans on the table. So is it going to be a metal commodity sector led recovery this year?
So So my take on this is that in the metal sector, if we want to be specific, then there is going to be a lot of consolidation that will take place through the NCLT or even otherwise.
Right.
And also the large steel companies like JSW, Tata, Steel Authority will take up large projects and will sort of, the future demand of steel would be met by the larger steel producers. In the past, there were many small steel companies which were not very efficient and which were not very... steel is a very capital-intensive business, and therefore larger capacities make more sense. But we had smaller capacities in India and thousands of them. But now it's becoming more and more a game of big boys. And therefore, these companies are investing big monies.
Okay, now bear with me, sir. I'm reading out a list. Monet Ispat, Electro Steel, Binani Cement, JP Associates, GMR Power. These are apparently all acquisition targets on the JSW list.
Not all of them.
Not all? Okay, tell me which one. GMR Power, you nodded your head as if I got it wrong. So that one is struck out. But that still leaves Monet Ispat, Electro Steel.
Not Electro Steel.
No, so Bhushan Steel.
Bhushan Steel,
Yeah.
yes. Yeah.
So those two you've submitted bids for. Binani Cement you've submitted a bid for. JP Associates, you wanted to work together with them to be able to complete their many pending, projects. You've got to be really bullish about the economy or your own capabilities. Otherwise, you're going to be confronted with the accusation that you're overdoing it.
No, clearly I'm very bullish on the economy. I feel that these are the assets which are very good assets, and we are very particular, very picky on the quality of assets. We have, for example, picked up JP's hydro plant a few years ago, and it's a first-class, world-class assets. So we are really picking and choosing what are the good assets and only focusing on those assets.
So you want both the steel ones, or you are hoping to get at least one?
I don't know. For example...
That's an on-camera moment. You won't pick between the two.
No, for example, in Monet, we are the only bidder.
Correct.
So, unfortunately. So
you might end up getting that one for sure.
For sure. And
in Bhushan?
In Bhushan, we are going to play our cards.
So you want both?
As I said, consolidation has to happen, whether we take both or somebody else.
But you
Tata
want
Steel
both.
does it.
I'm not saying will you get both. I'm saying you want both.
Yeah, I think Bhushan is a good asset.
So you want both. I'm not saying will you get both. I'm not asking you to predict
I want
the
so many
process.
more, so it doesn't matter.
All in 1 year?
No. So we have got partners who are joining hands with us.
GFE extending
with us,
support.
and there are other investors.
Aeon is extending support in.
Correct. So therefore, it's not that only JSW is going to take everything.
So how do you hope to work this? How much do you expect will be your exposure to both these assets? You must have worked some rough numbers in your head saying, this is what I can afford, this is what I can deal with, right?
No, so I can't discuss these things over camera.
I'm joking. Just a broad, give me, if you had to put a number to your appetite, what would it be? That this is how much you're willing to put to the table.
No, it doesn't work like that. No, it doesn't work like that, because, as I said, that these would be standalone assets, and these are not going to be part of JSW Steel.
You want eventually plan to merge all of them?
Probably.
Eventually, sometime after you've turned them around and all of that.
That's right. So today, JSW Steel will be only investing the equity, part of the equity.
But will you be majority shareholder in both if you get the chance?
No, not necessarily.
Not necessarily. Oh, that's interesting. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So why would you be happy in holding less than majority stake in any one of these projects?
No,
what does that give you?
Idea is to manage the show.
Okay.
Idea is to run the business profitably.
Correct.
And once they turn around, then we will merge them, and then thereby we'll control the company.
Okay.
So right now we are not looking to have the majority.
Okay, clear. And do you have a sense of how much debt you're willing to take on?
No, right now I can't. I don't have
not at this point in time. Binani Cement, is it because you just have big plans for your cement business?
Yes. So Binani Cement is a very good asset, and we've been looking at it for a number of months rather. And so now let's see what happens.
But again, you've got more on your list for cement?
Not really.
Only this one? Yeah. Because it's obviously in a situation where it could potentially be available.
We are not present in that market, so therefore it makes sense.
So JP Associates kahan se aa gaya?
JP Associates nahi hai.
No, you said you wanted to. There were comments at one time saying you might come together and help them. Only the power assets. Otherwise, you're not interested in. JSW Group is not interested in working with JP for them to be able to finish their housing projects or their many pending apartments? Because there was some news on that front, but that's not correct.
We are not in that
even
business.
I couldn't understand why. Okay, so we've narrowed the list to Monet and Bhushan and Binani for sure, right? Those three for sure. Okay, along with you, there are many other players bidding. ArcelorMittal, who has been trying very hard to get a very substantive foot in the India market and hasn't been able to do so. The one asset it invested in is right now in trouble. Vedanta, who's been wanting to build out a steel portfolio. You think there's enough space at a point when you're saying a fractured market is coming together to consolidate for all these big global players to come in? Will this become a very expensive bidding war?
No, I think India is a very attractive market. India is going to be the second largest steel producer in the world. So anybody and everybody, whoever is in the steel business, will look at India very seriously, because India is a very serious market, and India has a long way to go to build this country. Right. So, and steel is the basic material which is needed for building the nation, building the infrastructure, building everything. So I think their interest in ArcelorMittal or Vedanta's interest in this business is not unfounded.
No, of course it's not unfounded. Do you think it will make things very expensive for you in the months and weeks and years to come?
That we can't say right now.
Okay, so if you had to predict what the list would look like of top 5 players in India 5 years down the line, right now Tata Steel is working really hard.
I hate to predict.
I'll put you on the map on this one. Tata Steel is working really hard to regain its #1 position. I think that's the internal message, saying do what you can to overcome the JSW challenge. You are at, I think, expected to be at 23 million tons by March 2020.
Tata Steel is what we have grown up looking at.
Correct.
And I have great regard and respect for Tata Steel.
Of course, this is business.
And they ought to be #1. There is absolutely no problem. I'm very happy to be #2 or #3.
Come on, really, I'm going to cede that position. You worked very hard to be there.
Yes, of course, I worked very hard, and I'll continue to work very hard. I'm a very tough competitor to beat. I like to win. There's no question about it. But that's okay. But as I said, that Tata Steel is Tata Steel.
So how do you gain leadership in this market? I mean, one is to build out capacity, but neither you nor Tata Steel, I mean, they've learned from their chorus lesson. You've seen how the market has evolved. None of you are going to go out there and do rash things, hopefully, So how do you then build leadership in this space? Is it by going down the value-added route? Already you've done quite a bit of your business through the value-added route. Is there more to be able to milk down that route in terms of, higher margins, more profitability? How do you establish leadership besides capacity?
No, of course, higher margin and profits per ton of production is what is most important. Shareholder value, the most shareholder value which company provides is what is critical. Capacity is not the only thing.
There's so many things. Just wondering, what would it take
customer satisfaction, providing what the customer needs.
But you're both great brands.
Yeah,
Tata Steel is, yes, of course, age-old brand.
Absolutely.
But you're both great brands. So what will be the distinguishing factor between the two of you?
No, then eventually in steel it's the capacity.
It is
eventually. If everything is at par, then it's the capacity which makes more. You turn more steel, more tons, then you make more capacity.
Okay, you're about 34% of revenue from value-added steel at this point in time, 34 to 40% if I remember correctly, roughly. The only reason I'm asking is not to get into specific numbers, but is that the big edge? Is that what will give you technology superiority over any other player in the marketplace?
Yeah, I mean...
I remember that used to be the argument Tata gave when they bought Chorus.
Yeah.
The kind of products it sold, the kind of people it sold to, the auto companies in the West that it sold to.
Yeah.
So I'm just wondering, is that the way it plays out?
No, I mean, eventually everybody would want to go down the value-added products chain, because that's what makes the company more profitable and customer is more satisfied. So Tata's invested huge amount of money to buy Chorus, and we gave some equity and got money into the company to get the same technology, right? Yeah. So we brought in JFE. So that was a thought process, two different thought processes, and I thought JSW was the winner in the process.
I think,
So down the road, I think this is how we are thinking, that we will continue in our pursuit to go on adding value and increasing capacity and creating value for our shareholders and creating value for our customers.
Okay. A more medium-term, near-term question. I know you've been tweeting about this, which is the Orissa iron ore situation because of the mine shortage thanks to the Supreme Court order. And I know that you're worried or concerned, if I can use that word, about what that means for iron ore shortage. We've already seen a price spike take place. And I think you, in fact, even warned on Twitter saying that thousands of jobs will be lost. How critical is the situation right now? Yeah.
I think it needs a lot of initiative from the government. Government is taking initiative. Ministry of Mines is taking initiative. They had a couple of meetings already on this. But they are not finding a path how to handle it because the diktat has come from the Supreme Court. So, but the fact of the matter is that if we are, as a country, we have huge, we are endowed with a large amount of mineral in our country. But we have to gainfully utilize it.
Yes,
if it's lying in the ground and, generations go,
it's national
hungry.
wealth that's lost.
Yeah, that's lost. So, and steel, iron ore will lose its value, in my opinion, in the next 30, 40 years. Because scrap, there will be enough recycling scrap and then we will need much less iron ore than what it is today.
Okay.
So there's no point of letting it, and so therefore I believe very strongly that this is one very strong thing that we have, that is iron ore, and we must really exploit it to the hilt.
That's principally. Right now in the medium term, are you seeing a big price effect because of that?
No, so
because of iron ore prices, are you seeing that having an important hit on profitability? Because it's taken 2 or 3 years for the industry to recover from the Chinese import situation, right?
Yeah.
And you got that because of the minimum import price protection and all of that.
This government was very swift
so you
on
got that. And I mean, last year has been, very, very good. This year, do you think that could get spoiled by this whole situation?
So already in this year, iron ore prices are nearly 100% up. Since this Orissa ban, it's jumped 100%. I mean, this is quite ridiculous. We cannot accept that. And there is plenty of iron ore in the system. We must produce more iron ore, and that's what government's job to do and to see that we should.
Or import.
Yeah, no, import, then it's market driven. We are importing. We import every month 1 million tons.
Yeah, but I mean, at a better price.
No, it's maybe it's sometimes more expensive, but then it's much better quality, so it's okay.
Okay, so you're hopeful that the government will do something quickly about the situation?
I'm sure about it.
Or else prices will continue to stay where they are?
Yeah.
Okay, fine. That's not pleasant to hear. Okay, one last question, and that has to do with, this is again something that you've tweeted frequently about, which is, promoters being kept out of the bidding possibilities for their own beleaguered assets under IBC and NCLT. You took a view that, if they weren't able to manage their assets earlier on, then why allow them to rebid? If I can paraphrase your view, you still stand by that? Because there's been a lot of promoter pushback.
I know. There is a lot of pushback in every function. I'm cornered by all the promoters, and they all say that you are the one, you are the one, I'm the villain. But I believe that practically how to justify somebody who has run the business down, and for different reasons. There could be so many coal mines getting cancelled, government decisions have gone against the promoter and the company, but fact of the matter is the company's gone sick, and then the banks take a 50% haircut and the promoter comes back. I mean, philosophically, I feel that it is very difficult to justify, politically very difficult to justify. How do you do that? So that's why I said that it doesn't make sense, and government also agreed with my view, and that's what the thing.
Okay, so many people said, this is because Mr. Jindal's got his eye on both the assets, but both the assets you're speaking
I think that's a very narrow view.
I don't think the promoters in both those cases.
Many people think that because you want this and you want it at low price.
You're not interested in SR Steel, mostly because of the geography, is it?
Geography, then the CCI is not going to allow us to take everything, and also technologically,
if SR was in a better geography, you'd pick it, because I think no,
because technologically, I think SR is not the best plant, because it's based on gas, and that's not the best.
Okay, so qualitatively, you've picked off the 3, you've picked your best too. Outlook is looking good for steel this year. I mean, in a growing country, that's an odd question to ask, but nonetheless,
quite good. Yeah.
Both demand and price is looking good, except for this iron ore situation.
Yeah, but otherwise also it's good.
Okay, we'll leave it there. Thank you, Mr. Jindal.
Thank you, Menaka.
Have a great day.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stay warm.